Hello all, and welcome back to our next video. This one is a continuation of the last couple that we have been doing. We are further showing that triangles are congruent to each other. We have two new theorems, which is ASA and AAS. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. So the first one is our angle-side-angle congruence postulate. We abbreviate that as ASA, which states that two angles and the included side of one triangle are congruent to two angles and the included side of a second triangle. Then the two triangles are congruent. So if we take a look at these two guys here, we have two angles and the side in between. And so if angle A, which in this one is angle A because it's congruent to angle D, and we have the segment AC is congruent to DF, and angle C is congruent to angle E, then we're allowed to say the two triangles are congruent. So as we've seen before already, we've seen the side, 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 all three sides are the same. Side, angle, side, we have the angle in between. Hypotenuse legs deals with the right triangles, and then we have these guys here, which is angle, side, angle. All right, we got one more to go, and that's the angle, angle, side. And that's two angles and the non-included side of one triangle are congruent to two angles and the corresponding non-included side of a second triangle. Then the two triangles are congruent. So take a look at how this is different. Before it was segment AC with segment DF. Now we have BC with EF. We also have the other option of saying segment AB is congruent to segment DE, and it would still be angle, angle, side. It does not matter the order that it goes in as long as it's being consistent. Okay, so same idea. We show that two angles, one right after the other, followed by a side. Okay, so that's different from the last one. Okay, so the big question is, when do I use which? So the key thing here is being able to recognize first that this side is in between the two angles. But depending upon how you look at it, some students tend to think, all right, well, if I'm looking this way, I'm going from angle to a side. So shouldn't this be angle, angle, side? Well, here's kind of our rule of thumb when it comes to these. You can only skip one thing. So that means you're only allowed to skip, say, one side or only one angle before you get to the next thing that's indicated as being congruent. So what I mean by that is if I were to go in this kind of clockwise positioning, I would be skipping this side, this angle, and this side. However, if I were to go the opposite way, I'm not skipping anything. I've got angle, followed by side, followed by angle. So it's really important that you kind of keep that in mind. So taking a look at the one on the right, you know, some people might think, oh, well, from here to here I have angle, and then I have side, and then I have an angle. But if I go in that direction, what's happening here is I'm skipping this side, and I'm skipping this angle. But if I went along the counterclockwise positioning, so I go from angle to angle, I am skipping a side, but I'm allowed to skip one thing, and then I go to side. So that's the biggest difference between when I do angle, side, angle, and when I do angle, angle, side. So again, you're only allowed to skip either one angle or one side as you're working your way through all of these things here. Okay? So let's take a look and determine whether or not these angles are going to be congruent to each other. So we have to determine, we have five things now. We have side, 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 angle, side, hypotenuse, leg. And then the two ones we just learned now, angle, angle, side, and angle, side, angle. So looking at letter A, I notice that I have an angle here and an angle here that are going to be the same. And so I see I also have this side, and this side is also the same. And so right now I have just the angle and the side. So this tells me a couple things. One, it's not side, side, side. Two, it's not hypotenuse leg because we don't have right angles. Nothing's mixed in. So we really have side, angle, side, angle, side, or angle, side, angle. And so we have to figure out, well, is there anything else that I can figure out is the same? And then like I said before in past videos, vertical angles are going to constantly show up. So we have to be able to recognize them. This angle that's right across from each other, that's a set of vertical angles. And so they're automatically going to be congruent to each other because we've gone through them before. And so what we can see here is I've got angle, angle, and then followed by a side. So this would be yes by angle, angle, side. I couldn't go the other way because if I did, I would be skipping a side and an angle. So I couldn't use that when I went to go to this side here. All right, taking a look at letter B, I have myself angle, one angle here, so that's good. Okay, I have another angle, and then I have another angle. The problem with this is that I have no sides, and you have to have it, in order to show congruence, we have to show at least one is going to be, one side is the same. And kind of think of it this way. If I have an equilateral triangle, or it's also equiangular, so all those side lengths or angles are 60, 60, and 60, and what happens if I have a bigger one? Okay, so if these are all 60, and these are all 60, are they anywhere close in size? And the answer to that is no. So just because all the angles are the same doesn't mean that the side lengths are going to be the same. So the answer to this is no. We need to have at least one side, because go through all the ones that we've gone through. Side, side, side has 3 sides. Side angle side has 2 sides. Hypotenuse leg is dealing with 2 sides of a triangle. Angle side angle and angle angle side both have at least 1 side. So that's kind of the key thing here. All right, finally, looking at letter C, we see that we have the 2 angles. Now we have to identify whether or not this side that they share, if that's in the middle, if it's between, it's the included or the non-included side. And if you see where the angles are, you can see that it is included. So this is a case of angle side angle. If you try to again rotate around the opposite way, we would be skipping a side, we'd be skipping that angle, and we'd be skipping that side. So we know that this is angle side and angle. This is just a summation of all the ones that we've done. You do not need to write this down, but this is just so you have it all in one space. So it could be a good idea for you to have a nice little chart all in one space that you can go reference back to instead of having it jumping between things. So we've learned so far side, 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 and that's where we have all 3 sides are congruent. We have side angle side, and that's where our angle in between the 2 sides are going to be congruent. Hypotenuse leg only applies to a right triangle. Remember, we could still do side angle side with a right triangle, okay? Angle side angle, these are where we have 2 angles and the side in between. And then angle angle side, and that's where we have the 2 angles and the side that is not in between. And so this is just one of the examples. We could also have marked off BC as congruent to EF. Okay, taking a look at this next example here, we want to again determine, are they congruent? Now we have all 5 that we could possibly use. So we're talking about triangle ABC and QRS, so identifying what we have. Go ahead, actually, why don't you hit the pause button and give it a try on your own. Let's see if you can come up with the answers to this. Okay, so let's take a look now. So I'm identifying, I have myself an angle, I have myself another angle. Let me get something a little bit darker. Okay, so we've got angle, and we've got a side. And same deal here, we have angle, angle, and side. And so you have to figure out, is it angle, side, angle, or angle, angle, side? In this case, it is angle, angle, side because the side is not between the 2 angles that we have listed here and here. All right, moving on to the next one. Same deal. I see that I have my angle here, and I've got a side and a side, and a side and a side. And so if you were to write down the angle side side, you'd be cursing at me. Or even if you do the reverse, you're doing the curse backwards. So this is no. Side sides angle does not exist. Remember, we showed an example of why that is. It's because we can form 2 different triangles. And then finally, number 5 is very closely related to the one that we did with the picture in the last set of examples. This is a case of angle side angle. Okay. One last thing you need to be able to do is if I give you some pieces of information, being able to finish up the statement that we have there based upon a given congruence. So for example, I want to show that the 2 triangles on the right there are congruent by angle, angle, side. And so what I'm given is that segment GH, so this segment here, is congruent to segment MN, which is this piece here. And then I'm telling you that angle G is congruent to angle M. And so since we want to do angle, angle, side, the other set that we have has to kind of correspond to that. And so I don't want angle, side, angle, so I'm not going to use H and N. But what I'm going to actually do here is do F and L. Because as long as those guys are, if we use F and L, then we have angle, side, angle, angle, side, and not angle, side, angle, which is the other thing that we might have. Okay? All right, moving on to the next one. We have segment FG is congruent to segment LM. So you see how I'm marking the diagram? It kind of helps me out being able to visualize things a little bit better. So angle G is congruent to angle M. And in this case, I want an angle, side, angle. So this is a little bit different now because I want to make sure that the side is in between. So it ends up being the same answer. In order for the side to be between the 2 angles, we then also need to use angle F is congruent to angle L. Okay, so they're 2 different problems, so it's perfectly okay that they are that way. All right, last but not least, I have FH, so this guy is congruent to LN. And then I'm listing that H is congruent to angle N. And what I want to do is side, angle, side. And so in this case, I need a second side there. Right now I have it with GH and MN, and that makes it as side, angle, side there. Okay, so that's how those problems are going to work. All right, go ahead and hit the pause button and get working on your stuff.